Today's episode of the Messy Desk podcast is brought to you by the good people at Creative South. Jokes. No, Creative South is the visual production company that I'm building, the media production company I'm building, which is not easy. As I'm learning very, 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 very vividly. You know what I mean? So, welcome back to the Messy Desk podcast. As you can tell, the desk is once again messy. This is almost what I think every creative's mind looks like to some extent, organized chaos. You get me? I've got my journal, I've got some jewelry, I've got my lip balm, I've got camera batteries and camera lenses, and I've got hard drives all over the place. I've got a sound bar. You know what I mean? I've got my books, I've got my cologne, I've got a lamp, I've got my water bottles, I've got a film camera, which I actually need to get. I need to get this film developed. Actually, hold on, wait a minute. Give me a second. Let me tell you about this camera. And I think I'm gonna do an episode as soon as I get this film developed because I need to get this film developed. This is this is a Minolta Supreme Freedom Zoom X Dates. It's from the 90s, and this camera belonged to my mom once upon a time. This camera is special to me because it's been in my family for a long time. This is the camera that's captured me when I was born. You know what I mean? It took some of my baby photos, and it's a beautiful film camera. It's autofocus as well, zoom lens. I think it's like what 24 to 50 maybe millimeter. It zooms. I'm not sure. I don't remember, and I should know. I should know, to be honest, but I don't remember off the bat. I last shot with it a couple months ago, actually, in Swak up in the coast in the desert when we were doing a music video production, which I will make a separate video for as well. But this is a beautiful camera, man. This is a very beautiful fucking camera, and I definitely need to get this film developed. But today, unfortunately, we're not talking about cameras. You know what I mean? Today we are talking about creativity as food, but not fast food, because we don't make content, we make art. Although this is technically content, which I try to package as art. But once again, that's also another Actually, no, that's a conversation for today that I think we'll get into as well. This idea, I think it's this idea I literally just thought of, and I was like, you know what? Let me do a messy desk podcast episode. This idea of how long is too long. This is something that's plagued me for a while. To be honest, it's something that's plagued me for a while. How long is too long? You know what I mean? How long is too long? How long can you cook things before they're ready? How long can you slow cook things before they're ready? You know what I mean? Are we talking game meat or are we talking like chicken? Are we talking fried food or are we talking, you know what I mean? Something like oxtail. I don't know. You know what I mean? How long is too long? The reason I ask this is because I'm at a point in my career as an adult, as I build this media production company, where I'm beginning to ask myself, how long is too long? I as an artist, as a creator, I like to take my time with things because I like to make sure everything is perfect. I don't like to be rushed. I don't like things that are, you know what I mean, done too fast because I feel like you can't really get substance in a short amount of time. Granted, everybody's different. I'm not shitting on anyone's creative process or anything, but I do feel like there is, although there is a big difference between like procrastination and sort of letting things percolate. I do believe that good things take time. And maybe this is something that's plaguing our creative industry right now, you know what I mean? And that's why we have so much fucking fast food content, you know what I mean, floating around the internet and all of our creative spaces. I don't know, who knows? My concern right now, or for the topic of this conversation, is essentially trying to figure out how long is too long. You know what I mean? And I don't need a definitive answer. I mean, if you want to, you can put it in the comments. But essentially, my question pertains to, how long is too long? I'm an individual who, once again, I like to marinate creative ideas, and I like to let things cook, and I like to let things slow cook. I like to take my time in planning. I like to take my time in just like in letting ideas stick. You know what I mean? And letting ideas just build and evolve and snowball. And then when they're ready, taking those ideas out and executing them. But but I'm at the point where I realize and I ask myself, how long is too long? And the reason I ask that is because at some point, when you let these ideas cook for too long, certain things start to happen, whether it's imposter syndrome, we already spoke about that, or, it's this idea of perfectionism, you know what I mean? And then once you realize, like, there's no such thing as perfect. In my opinion, I think perfect is evil. I don't think anything that's perfect is good, because perfection is evil. There's no way for something to be perfect. There's no perfection. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? If someone is perfect, they're evil. Okay, I'm not gonna say like evil as in like they're devilish or whatever, but perfection is almost like cheating. It's cutting corners, because there's no such thing as perfection. If something looks perfect, that's I no, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't believe that art should be perfect either. I don't believe that we should look at works of arts and be like, that is the magnum opus of everything. You know what I mean? Like, that is the absolute best of whatever that could possibly come in, because art is also subjective. So I don't like the idea of perfect. And so to bring it full circle, essentially, with what I'm saying is, when it comes to timing, you can craft something as long as you wish, or as long as you think you can, to make it perfect, quote unquote. But then, like, that would essentially just mean you waiting forever. You know what I mean? Things cannot take too long, but they can't happen too fast. And so the question is, how long is too long, to find that perfect middle point, ironically, to find that perfect middle point, to essentially be like, okay, this is the right time to take it out without losing too much time. You get me? And I'll use myself as a reference. You know what I mean? I like to take time with projects. But if you go down my Instagram page and if you look at my portfolio over the years, there is a significant gap sometimes between projects. But you can see extraordinary leaps of quality between those projects. And even though, quality will fluctuate sometimes, you know what I mean? Quality does fluctuate sometimes. There is a non-linear progression and an upwards sort of evolution. You know what I mean? Like a constant evolution. And so you can see with everything I shoot, there's always progression. And it's because I like to take my time. But I'm also a creative professional who is now building a media production company. So I can't just take my time. You know what I mean? I can't just decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to fucking let this sit for however long. And I'm realizing this year. Maybe it took me a little bit too long. Maybe it didn't take me long enough. Who knows? But one thing I am realizing is that I need to shorten that gap between ideation and execution. And that's why I ask, how long is too long? Because you need to be able to figure out, okay, I've got this idea. How do I create it? Boom, A, B, C, D. Those are the steps. Okay, cool. When can I start? And that's something, I mean, that's something that everybody knows for sure. But it's also something that I guess I'm sort of just telling myself to remember as well. You know what I mean? When you're creating, if you have an idea, just fucking shoot it. You know what I mean? Just bring it to life. Whether it is a shoot, whether it's creative direction, whatever it is, like, just bring it to life, you know? In November, I spoke to a friend of mine, Laudika, and he was like, "Yo, I think we should create short films and da 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 da, and we should like do A, B, and C." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm all for it. Of course, of course, of course." That was November 2023. December comes, January, February, and he's like, "Yo, like, should we get to it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, write the script, put it together. I'll shoot it for you. We can edit it together. I'll color grade." He writes in February. I think he writes in March. I think I read the script in March. April comes, boom, script is ready, but like it just didn't. Certain things just weren't aligning in time. He went back to the drawing board a little bit, rewrote. He was like, "Yo, here's a script. When can we shoot it?" I said, "Let me get the equipment. A, B, C, D. Boom. We shot it in 2 days, edited in about a week, and we've got the final version. You know, that idea to execution took about November, December, January, February, March, April, May, 7 months. So how long is too long? You know what I mean? How long is too fucking long? And I ask this. I ask this because I think there is power in patience, especially when it comes to creativity. There is definitely power in patience when it comes to creativity. It took 7 months for us to go from ideation to execution for the short film that will be dropping. I will not say when, and I will drop the behind the scenes for that soon. But it took us 7 months. What we shot is fucking beautiful. I will say that. It is fucking beautiful. There is no amount of preparation that we could have done more. There's nothing more we could have done to get something even more beautiful. And that was us experimenting with creating short films, you know? So how long is too long? 7 months is a pretty good time to write and plan a short film, in my opinion, and put it together with like a month of like, setbacks. So let's say like 6 months. We let ideas marinate, and I thought about a couple concepts, and we let things sit, and then boom, we have our concept. We have our shoot, we have our short film. So I do think that that there needs to be a fine line between procrastination and percolation, and procrastination actually bringing shit together. Because likewise, like you can sit on something for a couple months. I have scripts in my vault that have been there for like a year, and I have just not gotten to them. Whether it's because I'm too busy, or I procrastinated, or I just didn't see the importance, I need to get these out within the next couple months. So if it takes us 6 months to come together with a short film, then we need to ask ourselves, okay, how do we cut that 6 months down to 1 month? You know what I mean? How do we take what between the idea coming together in November 2023, and then December we didn't do much, January we didn't do much, February we didn't do much, right? That cuts it down by 3 months already, and that's what we're down to, like 3 4 months, right? Say you take like a month of writing, a month of pre-production, and then you shoot. That's like 2 months and a couple days. There needs to be a fine line between procrastination and percolation, and I get that. And this is essentially why I ask, like, how long are you gonna wait before you bring your ideas to life? I ask you, but I also ask me, and I'm just putting it out there. Sometimes you just need to go out and fucking do it and just create. Some of the best shoots I've had were just run and gun. You know what I mean? Just like, okay, fuck it, we'll just show up and do it. I did a shoot for a good friend of mine, a designer friend of mine, Gracie, for her master's project in the UK. And the shoots, some of the visuals ended up on the British Fashion Council. We literally just, she landed in Namibia. She was, like, hey, let's go shoot. I was like, bet. In one day, literally that day, I got the camera, picked everything up in terms of gear and whatnot. Boom, we went to shoot. That's it. We knocked it out the park. Couple weeks later, photos were done. They went here, they went there, and then they were up. The best shoot, and that's in my opinion the best fashion shoot I've ever done. And it was done within like a couple hours. No, it wasn't planned in a couple hours. Uh, yeah, okay, maybe I could say it was. And it was one of the best shoots I've ever done, mainly because it's not that I didn't think too much about it, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew the environments I was shooting in, and I knew how I wanted to shoot, right? I wasn't going in blind, completely blind, but I mean, you know what I mean? I hadn't been to the location before. Actually, I have been once. That's a lie. Moral of the story, the shoot came together in like a fucking day, you know? And that's my best fashion shoots, in my opinion, one of my best fashion shoots. A lot of shoots, and I realize this actually as I speak, a lot of the shoots I've done have been impromptu. A lot of my best shoots have been impromptu. And sometimes, it is important to just pick up the camera and say, fuck it, you know what, let's go shoot and just shoot whatever the fuck you can. Whether you have a plan for it or you don't have a plan, just fucking shoot and then make it look as saucy as you can in the moments. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't need to let ideas marinate. Sometimes you do, depending on how much detail and how much attention to detail you want. You get me? Obviously, feature films and short films are different than like photo shoots. Videography may be different depending on what you're shooting, but there is power in patience. But that patience should not hold you back from creating great quality stuff. You know what I mean? But on the flip side as well, not thinking and not having the patience to execute, to actually like let ideas build before you execute will lead you to create fast food content. You know what I mean? And I'm just being honest. I think there's so much that you need to learn, and there's so much that you need to adopt before you can create like real masterpieces, in my opinion. And that's why it takes so long sometimes to create things, because I want to learn how people do certain things, techniques, what is in the mind of a genius when they're thinking about creating something that special. You get me? So I do think that like it isn't the best thing to just constantly, you know what I mean? And this is why I say like how long is too long? Because you could go out today, decide, fuck it, I'm gonna do A, B, and C, shoot those things, come back, it's a fucking masterpiece. You could take 4 months to plan something, shoot that shit, come back, and it's a piece of shit. You know what I mean? So how long is fucking too long? I think it's about consistency more than anything. If you are someone who is able to churn out a lot of quality work, good quality work, consistently, that's fucking great. But I do think that a lot of people need to also understand that there's a limit. and I don't mean to sound, I don't mean to sound like negative or anything, but like personally think the reason we have so much fucking fast food content is, and a lot of quantity over quality, is because people want quantity over the quality. And that's terrible. Obviously it's subjective. Some people don't really care for quality. That's up to them. I think let's just leave it at that. It's subjective. But moral of the story, you know, don't take too long, but obviously don't just churn out whatever the fuck you want. Just whatever you can, just because you want to churn something out. You get me? Yeah, and obviously, there are challenges. You're always gonna have barriers. You're always gonna have trouble putting shoots together. You're always going to. You're always going to. You're always gonna. What is it? You're always going to have challenges. You're always going to have barriers. But at the same time, you need to be careful of not falling into the trap of fast food content. Because if you do fall into the trap of fast food content, it'll get very hard for you to come up out of it. And when I say fast food content, I mean just like shooting for the sake of shooting, and not really prioritizing quality just because you want to get something out there. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. And that's why I say it's quite subjective. This whole conversation is quite subjective, depending on who you are and what kind of shooter you are. Are you a service provider type shooter? Are you an artist? I do think that there needs to be time for developments, and people need to understand like the more you shoot and the faster you shoot and so on and so forth, it does to some extent dilute quality. But how long is too long between ideation and execution? How long is too long? Let me know what you think in the comments. Um, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. You know, it's just something that's on my mind. How long is too long? And also, I'm still trying to figure out this format. I'm not gonna lie. I really am still trying to figure out this fucking format, dude, for YouTube because I don't want to be a typical, hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is what we're gonna talk about. No, I just want to have a stream of consciousness and be able to figure out how to refine that stream of consciousness so that it has substance and depth in the conversations that I bring forward, especially as a Namibian creative trying to share knowledge or just like exchange knowledge with other Namibian creatives, you know. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Let me know what you think. My umbrella just fell. See, messy desk, man. All right. This was a great conversation. Please let me know if I missed anything, if I made any mistakes, if you want to correct me, if I talk too much, if I don't talk enough, if I go off too many tangents. Let me know in the comments section. Tell me what you think. I'm all for your feedback. And this was another Messy Desk podcast with your man's November Shilly. So have a beautiful day, and I'm gonna get to editing because how long is too